I jog every evening. It's my routine, my escape. After work, I lace up my shoes, pop in my earbuds, and hit the trail behind my apartment complex. It winds through the woods for about 3 miles before looping back. Peaceful, quiet, safe. At least, it used to feel that way. It started last week. I was halfway through my usual loop when I noticed something strange. A man, tall, lean, wearing a gray hoodie, was ahead of me. Nothing odd about that, except he wasn't moving. He was just standing in the middle of the path, facing away. I slowed, unsure whether to call out or turn back. Before I could decide, he stepped off the path and vanished into the woods. No rustling, no sound, just gone. I brushed it off as weird but not threatening. Maybe he was on a call. Maybe he didn't want to be seen. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, motionless in the middle of the trail, like a scarecrow waiting to come alive. The next day, I told myself not to be paranoid. I waited until a bit earlier than usual, made sure the sun was still out, and set off. The trail was quiet, but in that calming way I was used to. Birds chirped. A light breeze rustled the trees. My feet pounded the gravel rhythmically. Everything felt normal, until I reached the bend just before the halfway point. There he was again. Same hoodie. Same stillness. Only this time, he was facing me. I froze mid-stride. His hood covered his face completely, but I could feel him staring. The air grew thick, heavy. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around. I did. I didn't run, I sprinted. Full speed, heart hammering in my chest, not stopping until I burst out of the trail and onto the sidewalk by my building. I looked back. No one was there. The following evening, I tried a different route. No woods. Just a few neighborhood blocks. Well lit. Familiar. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I kept looking over my shoulder. Every parked car, every tree, every shadow felt like it was hiding someone. When I got home, I checked the app on my phone that tracks my runs. A chill crept up my spine. It showed the full trail. The wooded trail. The route I'd avoided. But I hadn't gone near it. I know I hadn't. And in the middle of the digital map, at the bend where I'd seen him, there was a red pin. No label. No data. Just a red pin. Last night, I dreamed I was jogging again. But everything was wrong. The trees were twisted, the sky pitch black, and the path beneath me was soft, like wet paper. I tried to stop, but my legs kept moving on their own, dragging me forward. And he was there, waiting, not on the trail this time, but inside the trees. I couldn't see his face, but I knew if I looked too long, it would look back. When I woke up, my running shoes were damp, caked with dirt, but my front door was locked. I didn't run the next day. I didn't even leave my apartment. I sat on the edge of my bed most of the morning, staring at the shoes by the door, still crusted with dirt that shouldn't be there. I scrubbed them clean around noon, partly to distract myself, partly to prove to myself this wasn't something paranormal. But the dirt had a smell. It wasn't just mud. It was earth, wet and old, like something dug up from far too deep beneath the surface. It clung to the soles of my shoes, oily and dark. I had to use a knife to dig some of it out of the treads. That night, I locked every window, pulled the curtains, left the lights on. Still, I couldn't relax. Not when I passed the mirror and caught a flash of movement that wasn't mine. Not when my phone lit up on its own at 3:17 a.m. There was a notification from my running app. Workout complete. Time, 43 minutes. Route, default trail. I hadn't left the apartment. The next morning, I called the app's support team. The guy on the phone, his name was Brian, was calm, professional. He looked up my account and the activity history. "Yeah, it shows you completed a run at 3:17 a.m., he said. "Route looks accurate. Matches your previous entries." I asked him if the app could start a run by itself. Not unless you triggered it with a smartwatch or voice command. I don't own a smartwatch, and I was asleep. Then he paused. "Actually, that's weird," he muttered. "Your phone's GPS put you about 30 miles north last night. Near Black Hollow." I didn't recognize the name. "There's no trail data there," he continued. "Just blank terrain." I asked him to delete my account. Right then and there. He agreed. I deleted the app. Factory reset my phone. Tossed it in a drawer. And still that night, I dreamed of the trail. Only now I couldn't wake up. The trees leaned in too close. The path beneath my feet was darker, soaked with something thicker than water. I ran, but the trail never looped. It just kept stretching forward, narrowing with every step. And then the breathing started. Not mine. It was slow, deep, just behind me, as if someone was keeping pace effortlessly. I wanted to scream. I tried. My throat didn't work. I turned my head. He was there, running beside me. His hood was down now. I wish I could say I didn't see his face. I wish I could say it was just a shadow. But it wasn't. It was mine. A mirror copy except wrong. Off. His skin was pale, too smooth like wax. And his eyes were solid black. No white. No shine. Just endless, hungry dark. I woke up on the floor. My legs were numb. My calves burned like I'd run miles. And there was dirt again, fresh, all across my apartment carpet. I run every morning. Not because I love it, but because I have to. It's the only thing that quiets my mind. It's the one time of day where the chaos in my head fades into the steady rhythm of my feet on pavement. My route is simple, a 5-mile stretch through the woods that wraps around an old reservoir. The trees arch above like a tunnel. I rarely see anyone out there, which is exactly how I like it. Just me, the wind, and the crunch of gravel. But something's changed. It began 4 days ago. I just passed the halfway mark when I felt it, someone watching me. At first, I thought it was just nerves. Maybe a squirrel. A hiker. Anything but what it really felt like, an intense, heavy stare boring into my back. I picked up the pace, glancing over my shoulder. Nothing but empty trail. Still, I couldn't shake it. The air behind me felt thick, electric, like a storm was about to break. When I got home, I locked the door. For the first time in years, I didn't feel better after a run. I felt worse, like I'd brought something back with me. The next morning, I almost didn't go. But habit is stronger than fear sometimes. I told myself it was nothing. Just stress. Lack of sleep. The woods were especially quiet that day. No birds. No wind. Just the mechanical beat of my footsteps. I forced myself not to look behind me, but the feeling came back, stronger this time. My skin prickled. My breath hitched. And then I heard it. A footfall. Not mine. I stopped dead. The sound stopped too. I turned fast. No one. But the trail behind me was different, darker. The trees looked closer somehow, like they'd shifted. The path I'd just run seemed longer than it should have been. I backed up a step, and that's when I heard it. A whisper. Too faint to make out, but it came from the trees. Not beside me. Above. I ran the whole way back without looking behind me once. That night, I woke up at 2:46 a.m. I wasn't dreaming. I was awake. Fully, completely awake. And someone was jogging. Right outside my window. I live on the second floor. There's no path there. Just grass and the brick wall of the adjacent building. But I heard it, steady, even footfalls circling the building. I waited for it to stop. It didn't. It circled once. Twice. 3 times. Always the same rhythm. Always in perfect sync. Then it stopped. Dead silence. For 10 minutes, nothing. Then tap, tap, tap. On the glass. My second-story bedroom window. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The tapping came once more, then stopped. When I finally got the nerve to look, the window was empty. But smeared across the glass were prints, not hands. Feet. Bare feet. Small. Too small. I didn't run the next morning. I couldn't. I sat in my kitchen with a cup of coffee that went cold in my hands, staring at the footprints on the window. I took a picture, thinking maybe I'd convince myself it was condensation or a trick of the light. But the prints were still there, small, human, bare. The toes were long, uneven. Too long. I didn't call the cops. What would I even say? That a barefoot jogger climbed 2 stories to tap on my window in the middle of the night? No. I told myself it was stress again. But deep down, I knew the truth. Something was following me. Something that wasn't supposed to leave the trail. The next night, I tried to sleep early. I turned off the lights, drew the curtains, even moved my bed away from the window. It didn't matter. I woke up again at 2:46 a.m. Not to footsteps this time, but breathing. Not mine. It was hoarse. Shallow. Like someone trying to stay quiet, but struggling. I sat up in bed, not moving, listening. It was coming from the living room. My door creaked open before I could even get out of bed. I froze. The hallway was pitch black, but something stood there, just past the threshold. I couldn't see its face, only the outline. It was small. Thin. Still. Then very slowly it turned and ran. Fast. But the sound of its steps, they weren't normal. They didn't echo like footsteps on wood. They were soft, wet like bare feet slapping against dirt. In my apartment, I didn't sleep again. I made a decision the next morning. I had to go back. I had to confront whatever this was. I waited until the afternoon, when the sun was high and the woods looked less like a nightmare and more like a regular place. I told myself the trail didn't own me. I laced up my shoes and ran. The air was thick, silent. No birds, no rustling leaves. Just the steady rhythm of my breath and the crunch of gravel. And then, a second set of footsteps. Behind me. At first, they matched my pace. Then they got closer. I turned around, nothing. But I kept hearing them. Always one step behind. So I stopped. And for the first time, I looked back fully. The trail was wrong. It looked like it had been burned into the earth. The trees were twisted. The ground pulsed beneath my feet like it was breathing. And about 30 feet back, crouched low in the center of the path, was it. It had my shape, my build, my posture. But its face, it didn't have one. Just skin stretched tight, where eyes and a mouth should be. It was mimicking me. And it stood up. Step by step, it began to walk toward me. Slowly, like it had all the time in the world. I ran. I ran like I never had before. Not just to get away, but to survive. Every instinct in me screamed that if I stopped, if I hesitated even for a moment, it would be over. Not death, not exactly. Something worse. The thing didn't run after me. It walked, but I could feel it gaining. The trail seemed longer than it ever had. The trees around me blurred, flickering like a broken reel of film. The air grew thicker. Breathing hurt. Every step felt like running through water. And then I tripped. I don't remember what caught me. A root, a rock, doesn't matter. My knees hit the ground hard. I skidded forward, scraping my palms raw. I turned over, and it was there. Not walking anymore. Standing. Just a few feet away. Its head tilted to the side. No eyes, no mouth. Just skin. But I could feel it looking at me. Studying me. Learning me. It raised its arm, slowly, and mirrored my exact posture. Like it was trying to sync with me. Then it opened its mouth. There was no mouth. There was nothing. And yet, I heard my voice. Don't look back. That's all it said. My voice. My tone. But empty, like it had been drained of life. I scrambled up and ran. I didn't stop until I was back on pavement, out of the woods, knees bleeding and lungs burning. I nearly collapsed on my porch. That night, I didn't sleep. I locked every door, closed every curtain, sat with a knife on my kitchen floor like an idiot. But I felt safer that way, until my phone buzzed. I'd turned it off. I was sure I had, but it was glowing now. On the counter. Screen cracked, battery nearly dead. A new running notification. Workout complete. Duration, 57 minutes. Route, default trail. Calories burned 0. Partner synced. Partner? There had never been a partner. I ran alone. I deleted the app again. This time I smashed the phone against the sink until the screen went black for good. But the message had already burned into my brain. Partner synced. Something out there had taken my form, matched my pace, and it was getting closer.